All right. So today is Wednesday. It's the day before the colonizers' holiday. Um, and I am whew, yeah, it's been a quite a Mercury retrograde for myself. And I have a lot of things to share, and I also have some things that I'm not quite ready to share, which is pretty uncharacteristic of me because I tend to just be like, "Oh, I've decided I'm gonna put it out into the world." But yeah, I got some stuff marinating that I'm not ready to share. But I will tell you that it's coming and that it's exciting. Yeah, I'm experimenting with a new format today. I've had a couple had several actually attempted episodes this week, and none of them really came through. So I'm experimenting with a slightly different format where I'm not actually in a meditative trance right now. I am doing chores around the house. Yay! So I'm folding laundry right now. It's very, very zen, very householder of me. Chop wood, carry water. And so it goes. Yeah, but it's 3420 week, so it feels like I just need to make a podcast about that. And it's yeah. So how's 3420 week been treating you, right? So if that is an unfamiliar holiday or celebration, it's not actually a holiday. But if that's if that doesn't immediately ring a bell, don't worry. I'm going to explain it. So 34 and 20, gates 34 and 20 are opposite each other. Gate 34 is on the cusp of Sagittarius, and gate 20 is on the cusp of Taurus. Sorry, Gemini. They both start like really early in the sign, so it's not actually cusp. It's like the beginning of Gemini and the beginning of Sagittarius are in 3420. And it's also a channel. So 34 and 20 are programming partners. They're opposite each other on the zodiac dial, so that when the sun is in one, the earth is in the other, or if the nodes are in, if the north node is in one, the south node is in the other. So it's frequently activated. And it's one of only 3 channels that are opposite, like programming partners and channel partners. And it's one of them that makes you an automatic design to do, like the 3740. But the 3420 is special because it goes from the sacral to the throat. So, boom, right? We just have like this like outpouring of dew energy and sacral dew energy, and specifically. So if you know anybody who is like an early Sagittarius, they're probably a lot of fun, right? I'm gonna be honest, right? All the 3420 people I know are, yeah, they do stuff like constantly. They've always got a project. They're always like looking for something new, and yeah, it's fun. So this week, and then the opposite week, right? The first gate of Sagittarius and the first gate of Gemini, we all get a taste of this energy because it's just in the field right now. So I have not been able to like sit down and record because I've just been like fucking doing, like just doing all the time. Yeah, this transit also bridges my like long-term transit split that I'm like living with right now. So I have a long-term transit between, well, right now it's between my heart, my G, and my throat, like in that order. Because it's like Uranus is in the 8, connecting my hanging gate 1, and then Neptune is in 25, connecting my hanging 51. So I have 51, 25, and then 1 to 8. I have that like as an island, and then I have my natal sacral root splenic like situation. But right now, 3420 season, that bridges the split, and it gets my natal kind of like motorcycle really expressed. It opens the door for it. And so yeah, it's been an interesting 6 days, y'all. It's been good, but like busy, and combined with the Mercury retrograde and the like outer planetary configuration where we have like all of the outers basically having a big conversation. Yeah, it's been interesting. Yeah, so I'm just curious how it's been landing for you guys. If you find that 3420 season is a lot, or if you enjoy it. It is, we are leaving it tomorrow. So probably before Thanksgiving dinner, depending on where you are in the world and what time your family eats, if you're celebrating. But yeah, let me check and see that right now, because I like to have, and you know, odds are that you're actually going to be listening to this after that, because I'm probably not going to get this out tonight. The sun, I have it at, I have a I have an error in my calendar. Okay, the sun enters gate 9.1 tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Thursday. So that would be 1 p.m. Eastern time. So probably before any sort of family gathering really gets underway. So my guess would be that there might be a little bit of an awkward, like after these 6 days of like so much bubbling up and wanting to share, there might be a sensation of like kind of like awkward pauses and awkward space in the conversation that you don't quite know how to fill. And of course, it's all dependent on the people who are there, right? But that would just be one of my guesses for how that might present. Yeah, it's 3420 week is a thing, y'all. And the hangover is probably pretty real too. So don't say anything you're going to regret. But also don't be afraid to speak your truth, right? Don't hold back because you think it might offend other people if it's your truth. I need to hear that as much as anybody else, I'm sure. Yeah. So that was, 3420 week is, it kind of dominates the situation, right? So tomorrow the sun moves into gate 9. And so, we're going to be switching from this kind of, and, the Sagittarius arc is kind of interesting because these gates just really map so well. And I need to actually start researching the deacons, because every time I talk about human design and the gates to people who know like astrology but aren't familiar with human design, they always ask about the deacons, and I don't know enough about them to speak very to really speak about them, but I am really curious to look at how, and I need to study, basically this is just me verbalizing that I need to study the deacons. And if that term isn't familiar, deacons, or DECAN, it's like a 10-degree segment of a zodiac sign. So you have 3 deacons per sign. So there's the first, second, and third deacon of each sign. So there's a book called 36 Faces that I need to buy, where they talk about where he talks about all of them. But yeah, so gate 34 is the first gate of Sagittarius, and it's thunder over heaven. The name of the hexagram is great power. And it's the in the gene keys, it's the shadow of force and the gift of strength and the city of majesty. So that's this very like Jupiterian, I think, and Martian. Very force, strength, majesty, right? You have this image of like someone trying to like brute force their way through something, and then the strength, you can think of like the image of a bodybuilder or a power lifter or something, and then majesty, right, is just like this like royal energy of glory, right? It's glory. And so this is the first 5 degrees. So from Sagittarius 07 to Sagittarius 545. And it's a lot of power, right? It's a very powerful archetype. Thunder over heaven, right? You have this lightning flash in the sky. There's Zeus, I mean Jupiter, right? Thor, that kind of archetype. And it outlets straight into 20, right? When we have the Earth or the nodes in it, and the sun or the Earth, and either of the nodes, because of the nature of the oppositions. And its corresponding gate 20 is the beginning of Gemini, and it's called observation. This is the gate of the now, the shadow of superficiality, the gift of self-assurance, and the city of presence. So it's the hexagram 20, wind over earth, becomes like the receptive for that power. It's like and every opposition is programming partners, meaning all the yin lines become yang lines, and all the yang lines become yin. But with like 34 and 20 in each case, so gate 20, hexagram 20, is one of the hexagrams that looks like a gate because it has 2 yang lines on top of 4 yin lines. So there's like kind of this element of like if you just look at the shape of the hexagram, it looks like a gate that you could walk under, right? Whereas gate 34, thunder over heaven, there's just those 2 yin lines on top of a solid, heavy 4 yang line base, and it almost just feels like a little like a very large solid cup. Yeah, so I just like to kind of visualize the way that the hexagrams, each programming partner, like fits together, and like if I had them in my hands, what would they how would they interact? And so, yeah, 34 and 20 is like, you can almost imagine them making like a very sturdy base, like a 3-dimensional structure that could support a lot of weight. And then after gate 34, right, tomorrow we move into gate 9. So gate 9 is the gate of focus. The hexagrams are wind over heaven, and it's the shadow of inertia, the gift of determination, and the city of invincibility. So this is like, oh no. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm reading from my book right now, and I just realized that gate 9, I did not, when I updated my book and I replaced all of the gate names with the hexagram names to like de-emphasize Rahu's work and bring the archetypes of the hexagrams more in focus. And I forgot to do that on gate 9. I just didn't, it didn't take. Yeah, but this is the taming power of the small, right? So we go from the power of the great to the power of the small. Well, we go from great power. It's not the taming power of the great. That's a different one. But we go from great power to the infinitesimal, or the power of tiny steps. And that, I think, what's coming through for that is that after we've made these big, because it's easy to get full of hot air during gate 34 season, or like gate 34 week, because there's just so much raw energy that's ready to be expressed. And it's easy to get like kind of a hangover and kind of oh fuck, like what do we have to do now when the sun comes out of that gate and into gate 9. But the archetype of gate 9 reminds us that it's literally just chop wood, carry water, right? One foot in front of the next. Just do the next thing. Do the next thing, and keep that. Like if you keep doing the next thing, eventually you're going to get there, right? So that's kind of the energy we're in for the weekend, and into next week. So you might feel a little like vulnerability hangover, or you might feel some kind of like awkwardness over things that got said or didn't get, or that got expressed in other ways early in the day. Like maybe that's it. Like you're going to go over to your family's house and say some things early in the day, and then like that, it's going to feel like you're writing checks that your body can't cash. You know what I mean? That phrase. Yeah, it's it's not just you. That's just the energy, right? And that's so much of astrology and human design and all of these disciplines. I think that that's the power, is that it just, not that it absolves us of responsibility for doing or being who we are, but that it contextualizes it and gives us a framework for understanding what our like what challenges and what choices we wanted to set ourselves up for in this life, right? When we were out there wandering around in the bardo, right? In between our lives, when we were deciding like what are the things that I need to do, or what is the karma that needs to be repaired here. And so we each chose, or to some degree, right, we're given an absolutely unique set of like hand of cards that is our birth chart, right? And we have to learn how to use them and how to play them, but we're given like the hand that we're dealt is exactly all the tools that we need specifically to make it through our life. So yeah, it's I'm honestly having a little trouble figuring out. So I just sat down to record and I was just like, here's everything I need to say, but I'm actually kind of not sure who the audience is for this, whether this is public facing or whether this gets, I think it is. I think this is for everybody. I think this is just a, this is going to be maybe a shorter update on the podcast, but so things have shifted. I mean, they always are shifting. They constantly shift, but All we can do in this life is adapt. And try to leave the world a little better than we found it, right? Oh yeah, so I'm such a typical gate 54 Capricorn. So this is like maybe the curse of the gate 54 is that I have this tendency to just work so hard and have such singular focus and on accomplishing something, and then it's done and I'm just literally like, my mind is a blank slate and I'm on to the next one. Like I have no concept of, hey, I actually did that. And you know what? I think I'm gonna switch to video. Yeah, I'm gonna go get my my stand and I'm gonna try sharing this on video. So, yeah. Okay. I just decided to switch over to video because I was recording a voice note that started to get really juicy and I wanted to record it. But I haven't recorded in a while. My lighting it's kind of whack and I'm not going to worry about any of that stuff today, but I was talking about how it's 3420 week. How's that been treating you? And just feeling like I've been like, I have been meaning to sit down and record some more content to maybe talk about things that are going on, but I've just been too busy doing things to talk about them. So yeah, pretty major announcement coming, probably early next year, I think, looking at electional charts and stuff like that. But all of that aside, yeah, this 3420 week, this Mercury retrograde, especially as Mercury is activating all the outers that are having this conversation right now. Yeah, a lot of shit going on. But what I wanted to come on here today and say is that as a gate 54 Capricorn, I have this tendency to work really, really hard on something for a long time and stay focused on it. And I mean, part of that is the fact that I have like gate 5 and gate 9 and gate 34 and all these Sagittarius placements that I was actually just talking about in the voice note in the podcast. But I have this like tendency to just get really heads down on projects and work really hard on them, and then as soon as they're done, it's just like on to the next. Like what's next? What? Literally no memory of what just happened. Like, did I just finish something? I don't even know. But so I have to remind myself, like, calm the fuck down, dude. Remember what you just did and like maybe talk about it and maybe share it with people because people might actually care, right? So I think part of that is just like perfectionism and me trying to, I was unpacking this with my therapist today, whatever, right? But like I said, I have been working really hard on something this year and it's finally done. Boom. This is the workbook. It's the workbook that goes along with my course that has been kind of finished, kind of not finished for a while. And this is the reason why I have not been like talking about the course and selling the course is because the workbook hasn't been published yet, but it's finally here. It's done. It exists. It is print on demand. You can buy it. It will get shipped to your house. And it's a perfect little companion to my book. See? So we've got a reference book and we've got a workbook. So Guide to the Gates has been updated for 2025. What I changed about it was basically just to kind of reflect my evolution of my experience with human design, because I wrote this before I found Zen human design and learned any of the stuff about like type and strategy being, and so I felt I needed to revise the book. Got that done. But yes, the workbook is done. And you guys, I was doing the work too as I was making this workbook. And it really brought a lot of things like into crystal clear focus in my life. Just not only looking at the ways that I relate to people, kind of the things that I'm looking for in outside of myself, or who lights me up, who doesn't, why I can have conflict with certain people. But it also clarified like the eras that I've had over my life. So anybody who's known me for more than 5 minutes probably like knows that I tend to like, I'm not a person that stays the same for very long. I'm just not. I've never been. I've always been this person that's like always growing and changing and turning into somebody new every single day. But this workbook, like doing the work in this book, really helped me understand why and kind of clarify some of the eras that I've had in my life that maybe I feel weird or guilty or shameful or awkward about. And it really just puts it into like contrast. I shared I've been sharing several stories with my tiny little amazing community. So if you want the whole story, you can join that. But there's the amount of shadow work you could do with this book alone is like it's probably worth a decade of therapy, right? And I'm not making medical claims. I'm just saying that that's how profound it was for me. So it's here. It comes along with the course. So if you buy the course, you get the workbook included, but you can also just buy the workbook if you don't want to drop $300 on the course, right? You can just get the workbook. I think it's $44. And yeah, it might take you could go through it in a week, but I would actually recommend taking like maybe 1 to 2 months as you go through it. So that you can really kind of, especially if it's your first time through human design, if you don't already know the centers and things like that. It's meaty. It doesn't like my gate 54 when I'm flipping through it. I'm like, oh, the print is kind of big. Oh, there's lots of blank space, but that's why it's awesome. The print is big, so it's not going to hurt your eyes. There's lots of room for you to, right? Get it out on paper. Get it out on paper instead of like squirreling it away in the internet where some AI is going to, right? So, yeah, I thought you guys might want to see that. And yeah, it's funny because I'm literally on to the next. I literally like cannot rest, but that is, it feels good to have it out. It feels good for it to be out in the world. I'm really excited for you to get a copy of it, and I can't wait to hear like what breakthroughs it is able to create for you. Yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being along on this journey. I'm going to go back to just voice note podcasting. So, yeah, if you are watching this on Instagram, you can come join me over here. All right. Okay. So yeah, that was, I just recorded a little video. I need to figure out a better filming setup. I really need to work on my filming setup. Because showing up on video is something that I really want to do more of, but I get so distracted when I can see my own face, but I also need to know that I don't look like an absolute goblin when I am on camera. So it's, I think maybe just becoming a little more okay with being a goblin is the answer. And that's why I've enjoyed this, especially the format that I started this podcast with, where I'm just like literally barely, like my conscious brain is taking a very strong backseat. I'm not channeling, but I am reading energy and being a conduit for information that is in my brain that wants to get out. Yeah, it's been, the holidays are busy. Mercury retrograde is always busy. I have, I just finished this course and I'm really super proud of it. And yet, like that little voice in the back of my head is always like, it's not good enough. It could always be better. Which is, the blessing and the curse of gate 54. Capricorn in general, just this desire to create something and have it exist and also have it represent my current best is, it doesn't work that way. So at some point you have to call it done and put it out into the world, and you can continue to improve what you have created, but you have to share it in order to make a difference. So yeah, I'm trying to work on that whole thing. Yeah, I'm curious if anybody has had any shifts or revelations since Uranus went back into gate 8 at the beginning of the month. And then we also have, coming up next month, we have Pluto going back into gate 41. And also the nodes. Pluto goes back into gate 41 on December 5th, and then the nodes go into 3740 on the 23rd of December. So for Christmas season, we're all going to have this collective 3740 for, I think actually for like the next 4 or 5 months. So that's going to be interesting. 3740 is the other, one of, so there's 3 channels that are opposition channels. There's 2343, 3420, and 3740. 3420 is its own deal because it goes sacral to the throat. It's a do and it's a throat, expression. So it's the only one that just makes you a design to do out of those 3. 3740, 4323 goes from the ajna to the throat. So you also have like insights and downloads that you can express, but it's not necessarily an action oriented thing. Whereas the 3420 is very like, think of a thing and go do it. Or something occurs to you and you go do it. And then 3740 is between the solar plexus and the heart. So it doesn't make you a design to do. It does activate 2 motors. But it is, at its highest expressions, this channel is such a, it's such a blessing for community. Because people with the 3740, so gate 37 is the gate of, I think he calls it the gate of community, but like the hexagram is it's the gate of friendship. The hexagram is the family, wind over fire, the shadow of weakness, the gift of equality, and the city of tenderness. And it's it's the family, right? Being together, being a group, being a community. And then 40 is like isolation, the hexagram is called release of tension. The gate is called the gate of aloneness. And it's the shadow of exhaustion, the gift of resolve, and the city of divine will. So 40 is all about like, you're kind of in the hole and you're like, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. But then 37 is like, yeah, but we're not all alone. We're all here together. We can help each other. So yeah, we're gonna have that channel. So 37 is wind over fire, and 40 is thunder over water. So, you know, it's always informative to just contemplate those. Like, what does the pair of trigrams mean? What does it mean to you when thunder is over water, right? It's a storm on the sea, right? Or, like a thunderclap over the ocean. It's a release. And then wind over fire is more of like you can think of it like a gentle wind kind of stirring up the fire. But wind is also the archetype of wood, right? So wind feeds fire, it nourishes fire, and it's like, you can think of like logs on a campfire even. So yeah, just whenever you're trying to figure out what the channel means, just look at the hexagrams and look at the ways, look at the energy that each gate on each end carries, instead of like remembering these, and like just parroting back the interpretations that we got from the founder, right? This is a living system of wisdom. It is not it's not something that one person created and then it exists forever. It's an evolution of all of the wisdom traditions that it's a synthesis of. So nothing is static, nothing exists in isolation. So it's our duty to interpret and embody them before, like, as much as, when we're talking about them, we need to feel them deeply. So this is something that comes up with the old gene keys a lot. And I know Maria Henning, my teacher, likes to talk about the transmission effect. And I think this comes from derived from the gene keys, but if it doesn't, I credit to Maria. But it's the transmission effect is this phenomenon where you, like, let's say you're reading the book of the gene keys and you're like steeped in the archetype of this one gene key, and you just like feel it, you understand it, you can taste it, you can see it, you know exactly what it is. And then you close the book and you walk away and you go to bed and you wake up, and then you go, like, the next day you're talking to your friend and you start to talk about the gene key, and you just find yourself like completely at a loss for words. And the reason for that is that this body of wisdom, not just the gene keys are just the most recent, or one of the more recent iterations of them. The I Ching is a living holograph, like a hologram. It's a fractal teaching. It exists externally from books that try to capture it, right? No book is ever going to be able to fully capture the wisdom of the I Ching. And so when you're reading the book, you're actually steeping yourself in this wisdom. And the more you can tune in with the subtle frequencies of the teaching outside of the linear black and white letters on the page, right? Like, of course, the letters on the page are important, but it's the fractal teaching behind those words that is the transmission, not the words themselves. So don't memorize Richard Rudd unless you want to just read his words as poetry, because it is. But we don't want to continue to come back to his book and say, but here he said this, but here he said that. It's about understanding the underlying archetype of energy yourself, getting in touch with that fractal. And so when you find yourself at a loss for words, it can be an invitation to just kind of pause and tune in to the fractal before you speak about it, right? And that's something that just comes with practice. And yeah, none of us are perfect, right? Even Richard Rudd fails for words sometimes. And, you know, a lot of, like, let's be honest, he's not a scientist, right? So if we want to, he's a poet. So if we want to further this discipline of study, especially as it relates to molecular biology, right? How we put together the I Ching and molecular biology, fucking fascinating, right? Needs to be studied more, and also needs people that have the scientific training to understand the genetic code and the nature of the amino acids that they code for. Yeah, so that's a little bit about the transmission effect. I know we all experience it, so don't, like, if you ever find yourself in that space, like, don't don't fill the space with gibberish. Don't, like, you have to overcome the urge to just, like, make something up, because that's just going to muddy the waters around your around the here's the image that's coming to mind. So each of us that becomes steeped in these traditions, in these living wisdom systems, embodies the fractal hologram of the teachings within our field. And when you, if you're trying to teach something that you're just learning, it's great. It's great to teach things that you're learning because you're passionate about them, and you are, you solidify your own learning by teaching. But it's really important to not just fill the airwaves with whatever is coming up. If it's coming from a place of ego, or you're just making it up, but not in an intuitive, like, channeling the transmission way. So learning the difference between your bullshit that you are spouting and being a conduit for the teaching is a lifelong journey. But it's also very important, to make sure that the people you're listening to when it comes to these fractal teachings are clear channels and are not their transmissions aren't polluted with the service to self, like attention seeking energy, like energy vampire stuff. You know what I mean, right? I'll just leave that at that, because we don't need to give any of that the airwaves. Yeah, so just finished the book. The workbook is finally out. The course is officially launched. I need to be talking about it more, but like I said, I'm just so on to the next, that as soon as I finish something, I literally don't want to see it ever again. So please buy my course so I don't have to look at it. No, it's really great, and I can't wait for people to come in, and for more people to come in and experience it. But I'm also like, yeah, I'm it feels good to be in a phase of soaking in again, because I had been in a phase of wringing out, So if you kind of think of yourself like a sponge or a washcloth or any, any sort of something that soaks up, right? Because we use that phrase of like, I'm just a sponge for this information. The important thing to remember about a sponge is that it goes both ways. You soak it up and then you also bring it out, right? You can't just have a sponge that just gets soppy, right? Or you can, but like you're not going to soak up anything new unless you wring out and write, publish, create, right? Make, produce, and not in like a capitalist sense, but in a sharing the information, sharing your gifts, sharing the knowledge, sharing the power, in that type of a frequency. So I've been in this phase of like wringing myself out for the last several months, and now I'm in a bit more of a phase of soaking it in and soaking it up, and it feels good. Yeah, like I'm allowing myself more spaciousness during the work days, especially on the days when I have childcare. Reading new books, thinking about what I want to learn next. Finally picked up a copy of The Inner Sky, Stephen Forrest's like super basic intro astrology book. A lot of people's introduction to astrology, but I'd never read it. And it's, yeah, you know, when a book about the thing that you practice makes you totally rethink everything about the way that you practice. Yeah, so that's okay though, and it's I think I've realized that different schools of astrology. So we have modern Western astrology, which is a very psychological astrology. It's usually it draws heavily on myth and archetype to tell stories about just like personality traits and inner dramas that we face. It's a very effective form of like understanding the narrative or the just the like understanding ourselves. And that has been, so when I got into astrology, 20 years ago, modern astrology was kind of the most common. And we didn't really separate tropical astrology into, it's modern astrology versus, it's evolutionary astrology and Hellenistic astrology. Hellenistic astrology was it wasn't even really much of a thing at that time. Yeah, and so like I just studied and practiced modern / like evolutionary astrology. It was just kind of what it was. And then I took a couple years away and kind of stepped out of the scene because I was over personalizing things and had a dark night of the soul, all of that sort of stuff. But then when I came back to it, as I started to learn more, then you realize like, Hellenistic astrology, traditional astrology is the new hotness, and that's what everybody is talking about right now. Like, looking at advanced timing techniques that you can use to predict like specific events, like zodiacal releasing, things like that. And it's kind of, the pendulum is kind of swung in the direction of saying like that's the type of astrology we should be doing because it gets more concretely predictive than modern astrology does. But like, yes, and right? I think just like anything, it's not a no, but it's a yes, and right. Different schools of astrology are just that, different schools of astrology. They're all equally valid in their interpretations and have their own distinct scope of practice and scope of relevance. And when we get into arguments about like what house system should you use the house system that's most appropriate for the type of astrology you're practicing, right? Different house systems have different purposes. And that's a different story. Like, I'm not going to go into all of that right now, but um, it's Jen Zart was the one who coined the concept of the open house system, and that's a phenomenal example of because and that's what the open house system is literally just use the house system that's appropriate for the type of practice you're doing right now. Like, there is no one house system that works for every type of astrology. And that's such a beautiful example of integral consciousness, right? It's sitting with the paradox. It's saying yes and, both and. This and that can both be right without everything having to be right. And that's where some people tend to get lost in the sauce or kind of fall down the slippery slope, is like, oh, well, if this modern astrology interpretation is right and this other interpretation is right from evolutionary or from Hellenistic astrology, then this interpretation from ChatGPT must be just as right, or this interpretation that this person just literally just made up by saying word salad that they didn't understand is also valid. No. I'm just gonna slap, like, I've got a little ruler and I'm just like slapping, like, no, that is not the case. Just because both and of a paradox can be true does not mean that everything is true. We can sit with paradox and internalize it and allow it to exist without saying that, no, that means everything is true, right? So, yeah, integral consciousness, allowing for paradox to exist, taking what works from every thing we sample, and then throwing away what doesn't work and creating a new and better and more maybe not better, a new and more accumulated version of whatever it is we practice, because that's what we are as animals, as accumulators. Yeah, we're just doing the best that we can, right? Yeah, so I think I bought Stephen Forrest's book, The Inner Sky. I found I definitely found some cool new interpretations that I hadn't considered for, like, and that's the thing about going back to the basics, is that, like, you can really understand what the archetype of Mars means, and reading somebody else's interpretation of that can also make you go, oh, yeah, hadn't thought of it that way, right? Without it meaning that, oh, you're terrible at what you do. Like, oh, you didn't know that. My baby is at the age where she she will make up a word, blow blah, and then she'll say, Mommy, what is blow blah? And I'll say, I don't know. What is blow blah? And then she'll say, how come you don't wait, how do you don't know what blow blah is? How do you don't know? Yeah, and so I think a lot of the time as adults, we are so afraid of being of people saying, like, how do you don't know this already? But there's an XKCD for that, where, like, everybody is learning something for the first time today. And astrology at this point in history, when we exist right now, astrology is such a huge fucking discipline. It is enormous. There is so much there that it's like nobody's going to be able to take it all in. I mean, even maybe somebody who studies constantly is going to be able to take it all in, but they're not going to really be able to wring it back out, right? To soak it up and then squeeze it out in a way that synthesizes new insights. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you study. And I am kind of feeling the call to swing my pendulum a little back towards astrology after spending so much time heads down in human design. I also am planning to enroll in the Gene Keys Guide program so that I can be officially, they swear it's not a certification, okay, but you have to pay money and you have to get your name on a list to be able to do it professionally, so it's a fucking certification. Sorry everybody. I need to get certified in the gene keys before I can really share more about that, and to use it in professional readings. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go through that process, and I'm also thinking about maybe some like mentorship type things in astrology. Yeah, I'm at a phase. I think it's the fact that I'm coming up on my second Saturn opposition and my Uranus opposition, and I'm reliving a lot of my teenage years and just feeling the frequency of when I was 13, 14, 15. Just that part in that place in time is very loud for me right now. And it reminds me of just being young and being curious and being ready to learn whatever I could about the world. So yeah, so I'm gonna I'm trying to decide what I want to learn next, basically. And it's a good feeling. It's like it's such an expansive place to be in right now because I haven't committed to anything, and so everything's a possibility. Um, yeah, it's fun. Um, yeah, I know there's. I'm trying to feel into what wants to be said because I know that um, right now is a time that maybe a lot of people don't feel optimism, and that it feels what is it, like, privileged to have optimism. And I don't think that that's the case. I think optimism is available to anybody. um, and I think that choosing optimism helps to make the world a better place, because we like the outside world is just the average of all of us, all of our like our the projections of our inner world is the outer world. So we have to heal the inner world first before we can heal the outer world, and that's the work that we're doing together. That's the work that, I mean, so many of us are doing right now, basically these, generations of people, of souls that came here to this planet to help untangle the karma that that we're currently in, and in a lot of ways just making it worse, but in a lot of ways making it better, and making it more interesting, at least, at the very least. And that's what we're here to do. Um, Yeah, so if it's available to you, if it feels safe, you can kind of drop into your body and see, like, how is 3420 energy landing, and or whenever you're listening to this, how when you tune into that energy, because you have that memory, um, and um, as you check in with your body and as you kind of see where your energy is floating today, looking at how does this so 3420 energy is so direct and so loud in your face and bold, like irrepressible in a way. Um, how can we make our inner worlds and our outer worlds in such a way that whatever we express through that channel is going to be a net positive for the world? Yeah, I'm just checking the time right now. I'm probably coming in on about an hour with both parts put together, plus the little video segment I filmed. Yeah, there's something else I was going to start talking about, but I think I'm going to share that next time. And I hope that, yeah, so if you are kind of feeling this pent up, ungrounded dew energy right now, just take a moment and kind of plant a stake in the ground, like either grow roots from your pelvis, or just literally like imagine this like sticking a stick into the ground, pounding a really big stake into the ground, right? And holding on to it or sitting on it, and just let that energy kind of ground out through you. If you're feeling like there's too much, it's just getting like kind of bouncing around in your body, this is always a good technique to just like ground that energy out. Let it release into the earth. And then you can replenish your energy with a golden sun above the top of your head. So just imagining that you have a bright seed of a golden sun sitting above right where your 8th chakra would be. Letting that golden sun get big and bright, filling it up with your energy, everything that you need to have the day that you need, anything you've left anywhere, just calling it all back to yourself, and then bringing that energy in through the crown, letting it pour all the way down through your body, filling up your entire energy body, your entire physical body, etheric body, filling yourself with your own energy. And then when it's comfortable for you, you can release this energy and you can open your eyes. If you want, you don't have to. And I think with that, I am going to end this transmission. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. And I can't wait to share what's next, like my next chapter. So how am I going to sign off today? I'm going to say stay salty. All right. See y'all later.